ah, 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 da, da, ah, ah. I used my journal to win a bodybuilding show, 2 bodybuilding shows. And every morning when I was training for that show, so when you train for a bodybuilding show, you have to do a lot of preseason. And in your preseason training, I'm going to talk about my preseason training. I watched Pumping Iron 2 with the women. And I watched it like 50 times. Even though it's old school, in fact, I think old school is like a great way to learn everything. If you really want to ask me, I think old school is the way to learn everything. So I watched Carla Dunlap and Rachel Blicklish and Bev Francis, and I watched my ladies train. I watched them have conversations with their trainers and their crew. I watched them prep. And even though bodybuilding has changed so much, and even though it was different when I actually did it in 2000, 2001, watching in the 80s, I just learned the basics about bodybuilding. And I also hung out with Gus, who was my amazing bodybuilder friend. And I went to shows with Gus and watched the men and the women pose. And I watched like I was studying. And I watched there's like a dance segment where you pose to music and you choreograph, bugs. You choreograph your posing. And I remember watching all of this and going home and journaling and talking to an aspect of myself. And so, I call these aspects in the book, Beyond Words, Finding Fulfillment Between the Lines. I call these aspects archetypes, and I'm not the first. Carl Jung calls them archetypes, and they're parts of our personality. And we all have them, segments of our personality. And I have a queen part of my personality. And I talked to her in my journal. And I talked to my queen and asked her, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And my queen was like, girl, doing a bodybuilding show is going to change the way you see yourself. Because if you can get in that kind of shape, girl, just do it. You don't have anything to lose. You're a personal trainer. It's going to teach you about food. Just do it. You're going to learn about food. You're going to learn how to pose like that. All you like to do, girl, is accomplish stuff. And you like to accomplish stuff that seems really hard to most people. Just do it. My queen was like, go. My queen did not say anything like, but. Nothing like that came out of my queen's mouth. So I was journaling, talking to my queen, and that's what she said, so I did it. Here's what happens. You start in your preseason, and your goal is to gain muscle. And generally, you eat, forget all of this new stuff, forget all of these go old, I'm gonna go old school, like 80s, 70s, old school. And so I started to eat 5 meals a day and to work out hard. Hard, like lifting heavy weight and building up muscle. And this is a year prior. It's my first body muscle show. It's a year prior. I'm just trying to put muscle on my body. So this started around before the end of Christmas time. So then when we got over the hump of Christmas and I'm journaling, I'm writing down my workouts, logging all of my workouts, and writing about how I feel. But I'm kind of journaling about how I feel loosely. February comes and I do a sample diet. My show's in June. February comes, I do a sample diet, and I just do 2 weeks because I want to see what it's like to eat and train like that hard training, and then pull my foods into bodybuilding diet foods. So I'm not going to go into detail about that because that's workout stuff. And I started journaling about how that felt. Oh, it was so hard. And I remember sitting with my guy at the time, and we were having he was having plantanos, and I was staring at them. And it was about 8 o'clock at night, and I was like, I want one of those plantanos so bad. And I remember I had to go because I can't eat that. So I was eating a lot of vegetables and no sauce and chicken and salmon. So I would journal about how it felt, that deprivation. But I was looking good. And I used to write about, like, when I would look in the mirror, I'm like, whoa, I'm like looking good. Like, I'm having this conflict with, I'm really hungry for the things I used to crave. And I'm writing about this. But I feel better about myself. Like, when I look in the mirror, I don't cringe. So I had a trip planned to Cancun, and I trained, and there were some guys there in the gym. Like, every morning we get up at 6 o'clock, and these two guys had chalk. And so if they had chalk on their hands, they're lifting heavy. And I would go in there and do my workout, and they asked me, are you training for something? Because there was the three of us in there, two guys with chalk, and then me doing my workout. I said, yeah, I have a show in June. They go, oh yeah, we're the only ones in that gym. And I'm journaling the whole time I'm in Cancun about these guys. That's how, I have this great memory of this stuff because I was writing it down. My life has been tracked in these books. And these are like such great memories. I just have to pause for just a second. Keeping these memories of your life, these important transitional times of my life, what I didn't realize was I was going to win in June. But I was tracking my whole progress. That was a transitional part of my entire life experience. And I saved it all in my books, in my journals. And I'm so happy I did that. Because I remember it. It was like putting my memory in. Not just the memory into my cells, which your body is going to remember stuff, even if it's unconscious for you. But I was I consciously have those memories because I was writing them down. And I'm so grateful for that. Another reason to journal. I'm going to rev this story up. I came back from Cancun all tan, and I'm going to tell you, when your body gets darker and you have muscle, you look more ripped. So I come back and everybody's like, girl. So now it's time. I'm going back, I'm working out, and then I start to diet down. Dieting down, so my show was in June. I have big legs, so I took 10 weeks to diet. And then what I would do is I'd go the first 4 weeks, diet nicely, and then the last 6 weeks, hard, like angry dieting. This is bodybuilding dieting. It is not for regular people. I don't mean that. I don't mean to say regular people. It's not for a life. You cannot live off this kind of dieting because it might mess your metabolism up, and then you just trust me on this one, okay? Anyway, this is like for sport. And so I go through my first 4 weeks, and I am tracking all of this in logs, what I'm eating, what I'm training, when I'm doing my cardio, when I'm doing my weight training, what body parts. I'm writing down in my journal how it feels, what changes I see. And this is on my way to work on the train in New York City all the time. I'm writing about, because I'm a coffeeholic, and when you're dieting, you can't have milk. You can't have sugar. So I can have milk. So I had to go from lattes, which I had all the time, soy lattes. This is before I don't have soy latte ever now, but back then, we didn't know that soy lattes can be like overwhelming to your body. So I was having soy lattes, skim lattes, blah, 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 blah. I had to cut that out and just have espresso. And I remember writing about I'm just having espresso. And then I was getting used to it. I was like, oh, give me my espresso, because it's like so, like it looks like milk, that lid on the top of the espresso. I mean, you start to see things differently. And I'm writing all this. I have all these great memories. And I journaled and wrote all the way to my first show in the Bronx, the show that I won. And then I journaled coming off of that show and how I binged for 2 weeks. So I'm going to talk about this another time. Because there's so many things, but this isn't all just memory. This is because I wrote it down. So awesome. Back to my point. My point is, beyond words, this book will show you how to start journaling your life so you can remember all of these amazing moments. You can save them in your private books, and you will never forget the details of your life. I'm Michelle Bernard. Side note, my initial title for this book was How to Start Journaling. Trumpets? No. Maybe violins. I dropped that boring title. Journaling has written me into so many of my aspirations, it still blows my mind. Through journaling, I shaped the courage to move to the cities and into the careers I craved, despite what naysayers said about the economy, despite warnings that my desires were too outlandish to ask for. Because of journaling, I conquered my eating disorder and changed my relationship with food and my body. It's the reason I've been able to sustain my physical transformation for over 20 years. Time and again, journaling has been the tool that's given me the voice to declare and become the person I imagined. That tired title doesn't scratch the depths that journaling will reach. The title I chose does, beyond words. I'm definitely planning to show you how to journal. I'm going to show you how to use your words to point yourself toward the experiences you desire. Your words are so powerful. They create, they destroy, they unlock, and they bind. Beyond your words awaits fulfillment. By journaling, you shall surely see how this is true. I'll explain why journaling is the tool to improve your life. Yes, I said it. Journaling will improve your life. You will feel better. You will choose better. You will trust yourself more. You will declare with confidence. You will. I can't promise any hard or exact deadlines about how soon you'll see these improvements. A few sessions, a week, 3 months. You're going to arrive at your revelations, find your center, transcend your fear, summon brave momentum, all that stuff, whenever it happens to happen. But know this, if you continue to journal daily, desirable changes are gonna happen. Tools are used to fix things, so I hesitate to call journaling a tool. It implies that you are broken. So think of a tool like the kind an artist uses. A sculptor uses a tool to carve sand and shine. Painters use tools to color, outline, and highlight what will become their masterpiece. You are that masterpiece. The journal will outline, sand, highlight, color, and shine. Daily journaling is going to outline what you really want and sand away what you don't want anymore. Daily journaling will detox you from sour emotions before they can penetrate your body, zap your energy, or cause illness. Your journal will highlight your beliefs and help you reframe your fears. It will help you generate the fortitude to finish your projects and pursue the passions you've deferred. Your journal will delineate the direction you want your life to take. When you finish this book, you'll understand why I reach for my pen, not my phone, first thing in the morning. Journaling is going to elevate your life in ways Mark Zuckerberg hasn't yet thought of. Another thing I should do every day? Is that what you're thinking? Another thing I should do every day? You already have an exhaustive list of should-dos. Me too. It's not fair for me to crowd another self-help task into your schedule unless it's worth it for you. Is having more confidence, less confusion, more awareness, less doubt, and more focus on what matters to you worth it? I agree. It is for me also. You only need to set aside 10 to 15 minutes a day for all these jewels. You can do this. Okay, one more thing. I did my darndest to keep this book short and to the point. Look at this. I've included the essentials. I also kept the book short, so you'll read the whole thing. You could probably knock it out in a week, but I suggest you trot through the book a bit slower. You'll absorb the benefits that way. There are 4 sections, or guidelines, as I call them. The 4th guideline is super. Don't miss it. If you decide you want more guidance, you can go beyond this book with the Beyond Words online course, The Realness Expedition, and journal with me. I'll talk about that toward the end. Ready? Give power to your beloved pen and claim your page. This simple gesture is about to change your life. That is the first section of my book, Beyond Words, Finding Fulfillment Between the Lines. And in this book, you are going to be able to learn how to journal your way to a happy state of mind. You are not going to sit and journal and cry, and well, you might. You know, sometimes you have to pass through a lot of emotions to get to happiness. So don't be deceived by people walking around. Don't be deceived. You have to pass through a lot of emotions to get to happiness, because the truth is sometimes buried below your life. The truth is sometimes buried below past decisions. The truth is sometimes buried under forgiveness. So let it go. The fact that you're just going to travel a life that is so perfect and happiness is just, smiles and glitter and rainbows, because you might have to dig a little bit deeper to come up with wide eyes and a new way of seeing. It is worth it. Go beyond words and start journaling with me. Michelle Bernard.